I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Triton community. Just want to introduce our board again and go through that so everybody understands who's speaking and voting and or who represents you. So we have Mr. Boyer, who's actually with us virtually. He is the at-large. We have President Terry Barnhart, Tippecanoe, Mr. Stichter, Etna Green, Treasurer, Mr. Miller, Bourbon, and then Mr. Redinger, West Redinger, Bourbon Township. So let's go ahead and begin.
All right, we will move on to the consensus agenda.
I move that we approve the vouchers in the form of $399,302.89, plus payrolls 10 and 11, totaling $376,152.65 for total expenditures of $775,455.54. Plus, I also move that we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. All in favor, and we'll watch for Kevin. Motion passes 5-0. On to patrons' comments. We'll allow, not just now, but as we go on, and if you type in a comment, we will try to answer it the best we can. Do we have any patrons' comments, Orion?
No.
All right, we will move on to personnel.
All right, I would recommend the personnel agenda as presented, and I'll be more than happy to touch base about those if there's any questions following that.
I move that we approve the personnel agenda as presented to us.
Second.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
So can I clarify a couple of those? So I do want to, obviously administration contracts are on there, so I just want to thank our administrators for the work that they do and continue to do as we prepare for, as we closed up this year and continue to prepare for next year. We did approve a $1,000 stipend in there for Margot Lemler, just absolutely went above and beyond in preparation for feeding our children during the alternative learning. I do want to congratulate Derek Eveland, who is named our new varsity volleyball coach. Within that personnel is also our psychologist, Jonna Watson, who does a fabulous job. So we asked her to come back and be part of our team. A lot of coaching approvals in there. Most of them have coached the year before, so if there's any new approvals, we would obviously name them by name. So those were in there. Also, Zach Schaefer, who's been an awesome asset the last couple years in our tech department, is transitioning to do a couple of the different math labs. So we're excited for him. He is actually working towards, he's in the transition to teaching right now for a math degree. So that's one step in the right direction for him, and we allow him to do that here is great. And then last but not least, Leah Alderfer will be moving from a 6th grade classroom to replacing the irreplaceable Molly Kinsel. So Leah Alderfer will be moving from 6th grade to the elementary music teaching position.
All right.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to replace Zach's position in IT then?
We are. We are going to be posting that. In fact, it is posted as of right now, I believe. We were trying to figure out job descriptions and making sure that we had the information on there, but we are planning on posting that. So we had the conversation whether we post a half-time position due to the fact that he'll still have a couple periods available, but we're concerned that we won't find a part-time technology person, so we posted that as a full-time, and then we'll have some of those conversations with that person to see what their available hours are and so on. Okay. So good question.
We will move on to other business.
All right, I'm going to take these one by one, as is probably more couth, especially in the situation of a virtual setting. So the first, I recommend the approval of adopting the corporation policy, which happens to be a lot of social media updates and just making sure that that is up to date.
I move we pass the
It's been moved by Ken, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval for the quote for the old gymnasium demolition. We received 3 quotes, Mr. Mike Kuntz, Langfelt Excavating, and Jackson Excavating. I received that quote, and Mrs. Barnhart has that for the $85,000 for the removal of the old gym.
I just want to say thanks, Jeremy, for all the work you did in getting us there. I think the email that you received from
Yeah,
a community member verifies that and just
yeah,
says that we did it the right way, and so I appreciate you taking the time and the energy and the effort, because it's not an easy. I know Tom was involved in a lot of that too.
yeah.
So, Tom, thank you for helping out with that. So,
Please know in response to that, it's not something we take lightly as a board. It's something we talked about. In fact, I, in a non-joking way, wish they would have taken care of that in 1991 when the superintendent at the time recommended that. But in the end, what I tell people and what I've had numerous conversations with is the fact is that we would have been in trouble without it for that long. It is a viable resource. I think we all love it. We all want to keep it, but in the end, when we're talking about fiscal responsibility and what that looks like for a school corporation to continue to pay $15,000 to $20,000 a year in utilities, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then also the confirmation of the email. So I want to thank our community. We've had multiple people reach out this week and just say, hey, I know that's a tough decision and you don't necessarily want to make that. And they're right, quite frankly, but in the end, we also have to do what's best for our corporation. And we don't want to create a bait and switch with, we came to the community about our activity center, right? And now all of a sudden we're going to pour money into the old gym. Just a 1928 building needs a lot of work, and we've obviously expressed that over the last 6 years from the Friends of the Old Gym and those type of things. So not an easy decision, but recommendation nonetheless.
so thanks, Rich. I move that we approve the quote to demolish the old gym in the time frame that's been presented to us.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval of the quote for asbestos removal at the old gym, so I know that that's always a concern. One of the things I'm going to talk a little bit more about in my core values and superintendent's report is the fact is that we would love to make sure that we allow our community the opportunity to purchase things that are in that gymnasium, but we also want to make sure that we do that in a very safe manner. So actually, we're approving the quote tonight, but it worked out that the asbestos, the people that were removing that, were actually able to get in there today and start that process in conjunction with Jackson Excavating. So they actually started that process today. And I'll be sharing, Mr. McFarland just went over and took some pictures of that. I'll be sharing that with the board from what they did today. So that will be a safe area if and when we have an auction and people need to go in there and remove items and that type of thing. So I ask that we approve the quote for the asbestos removal.
And I so move that we approve the quote for the asbestos removal
Second.
in the old gym.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Wes, for the approval of the asbestos in the old gym. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Next, I recommend the approval of the auction for the old gymnasium contents. Obviously, due to the fact that it's a public building and we own it as a school corporation, we have to approve the fact is that we're going to sell some of those contents that are going to be in there. We are in conversation with multiple auctioneers in the community, also with David Jackson, and just what can we save, what can we auction. Is it worth an auction, to be honest, is the first question we asked, and that was confirmed by Mr. Ball that it is indeed worthy of that, and quite frankly, he confirmed that it's needed for our community to be able to purchase some of those items if they so wish. So that's going to take place in August or September, providing that's approved.
I move we approve the auction for the old gym contents.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. But did Kevin say anything?
He's just reading it.
Okay, squeaking. Okay. It's been moved by Ken, seconded by Steve. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, next on the agenda, I don't approve. I ask the permission or recommend the approval to advertise the annual financial report.
I so move.
I second.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Next, I recommend the approval of the 5th grade fundraisers, Hacienda, Texas Roadhouse, evenings, and then the craft show that they've done in the past.
Move that we approve these fundraisers. Second.
It's been moved by Ken, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval of lunch price increase. Just to clarify that is paid lunches are going to increase by 10 cents and adult lunches are going to increase by 10 cents. None of the other items will increase, but those two items, a few years back, they actually expected schools to increase those, and we've tried to do our best to not continue to do that every year, but this is the year that we definitely need to do that. So I recommend that increase.
And that's kind of a,
The standard is 10 cents. Yes, that's correct.
I move that we raise the paid lunch prices by 10 cents.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Wes, seconded by Steve. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
I recommend the approval of Grade Network to replace Criterion. That is for our English teachers, and that is actually a process that obviously helps our English teachers with grading some of the long essays that our students do. It gives them feedback. They're able to do all of that feedback through this, what they would consider the grade network. So all of their edits and all of that stuff are right in that software.
Did we have a quote or anything for that?
It is $15 a student, which is actually through the textbook fees, but it's actually through the grant, through the assessment grant is actually the cost of that. So what they do is they actually set that limit at $15. So it's the same exact price as the Criterion. So
Okay.
the formative assessment grant is that where that's coming from.
Okay.
I move we approve grade to replace Criterion.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Ken. All in favor? Motion passes.
All right, I recommend the approval of the dairy and bread bids. That is through Northern Indiana Education Service Center. That is a quantity purchase, so we get the best possible prices we possibly can as we partner with, I want to say Misc partners with over 40 school corporations in the region. So those are the best prices we can get for those items.
I move we approve those two bids.
Second.
It's been moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks whoever you guys, Tom, I assume you
Yeah.
were the one that was.
That was Margot and Jamie that
Oh, really?
sorted through all that.
And
Fine.
so, and I noticed that what I read, that almost every school was online when they did a Zoom meeting, and
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
great, so.
Lisa.
Thanks whoever did that.
Lisa Abel from Misc kind of runs that, but definitely the cafeteria, our dietitian is part of that. And I don't know if it's necessary, but Dairy Prairie Farms is the milk, and then Aunt Millie's is the bread. So,
And that's same as last year.
yep, hasn't changed. All right, that was voted and approved, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I recommend the elementary and the high school handbooks. I don't know, Wes, if you have any input on that.
Anything major to change, I don't think.
Okay. The only change that I would note that was a little controversial last year were the holes in the jeans and that type of thing. And so I think the only thing that was changed on that, Wes, is the fact is that we just simply ask that they don't wear skin-colored undergarments under those jeans
To cover, to hide the holes.
to hide the holes, just so teachers aren't having to strain their eyes to find that. So we're just going to try to meet in the middle on that, but still kind of hold that policy as we made last year, with more planning allowed to happen.
Okay, let's blanket the elementary and the high school together for both of those.
I move that we approve any changes to the high school elementary handbooks.
Second.
It's Been moved by Ken, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0.
Next, I recommend the approval of the 2021 elementary textbook rental. I just want to make note to that we are going to increase that by $15 per grade level. And part of that, we'll talk a little bit more in my report again, but part of that is we are going to name devices per kid, and we're actually going to be able to go one-to-one kindergarten through 12th grade. So kindergarten and first grade will receive iPads. I still want to make sure we understand our philosophy is that we're not going to be sending those home every night. That's kind of goes against what we've believed is best for our kids. But in the age of COVID, so fingers aren't touching every device and sanitization and all that stuff, we will have a device per kid to be able to utilize so they're not continuing to share those devices. So we're going to make that work at the high school level as well, to where they'll have a device throughout the day and not go and touch those in every classroom as we have in the past. So those are some of the adjustments we're making within our safe road to reentry conversations.
Okay.
So I move we approve the elementary textbook rental fees as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Wes. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. All right, on to superintendent reports.
All right, so just as we have in the past, and I think I sent you guys an email just about maybe next month, you guys coming up with some of these core values and how you guys see those playing out. Because I think it's great that, first of all, you're committed to what we have going on, but also you're engaged in what's happening. So I think it's important for our community to hear you guys and some of the things that you're seeing and how we're living out those core values. So continuous improvement. Parent end of the year surveys are being created, and each building will be asking for feedback on how we can continue to improve future digital learning initiatives. Parents have reached out and expressed some concern, and some expressed their feelings on how that went, whether that's good or bad. So we're going to give them an opportunity, both through the survey, but also part of committees within each building, to kind of give feedback and let us know what that looked like from the parent perspective and the parent and the student perspective. We'll also be arranging an opportunity for parent input as we continue to plan for safe re-entry to school on August 5th. I will reiterate that. We are planning on starting on August 5th. All the direction from the state right now is that we do move forward with our normal start date. So I can tell you we're working feverishly behind the scene right now on exactly what that looks like, especially since the document was released at about 7:30 on Friday morning. So we had meetings again today. We started those meetings last week, but I'll talk more about that further on. We continue to look at our technology plan to ensure that we are setting our corporation up for future success. One of the things that schools didn't take into account when they created e-learning was the fact is we may have a 10-week layoff. And so we have to look at that a little bit differently, and we are looking at that differently. So I feel like we're better prepared for that today than we were 10 weeks ago, and we'll continue to get better at that. So when we continuously improve, that's exactly what we're talking about. Shared leadership. I just have a statement here based on the information that was shared on Friday morning. So on Friday morning, June 5th at 7:30 a.m., the Indiana Department of Education released their COVID-19 health and safety reentry guidance. While they make many recommendations, my interpretation as the superintendent of Triton School Corporation leads me to believe that they provide a great deal of information, yet few mandates regarding appropriate steps to continue instruction this fall. Basically, there's a repetitive use of the word should instead of shall, thus leaving the decisions up to the local health departments and school corporations, which part of us are okay with that. We want local control. We don't want to be treated like an Indianapolis school, but there are some times where we just wish they would tell us what to do. But so we'll continue. Please know that I've been meeting weekly with the Marshall County Health Department and my peer superintendents of Marshall County to coordinate our efforts and attempt to provide the best possible outcomes we plan to safely reopen our schools. With the release of this document, I believe that this planning group will move into the actual stage of planning as opposed to open discussion over what we may be instructed to do, which is kind of what we've been doing over the last 3 weeks. Please understand that we are committed to the health and safety and education of our students, as we make firm reopening decisions. We will be sharing this information to keep our constituents informed and updated on our progress. And I felt it was important. We started our meetings last Monday with Bruce Gephardt and our maintenance crew. We continued with food service and technology. Today we had meetings with the transportation, and then the elementary. Tomorrow we'll continue with junior, senior high school instruction. And so just talking about what that's going to look like, how do we continue to keep our kids safe but use a lot of common sense to make sure that things are age appropriate for them. I think social media has created a lot out there that's just swirling around in the what ifs. It's pretty crazy. So I want to put some in the next couple board meetings, and we're going to come out with a couple videos to kind of show you what that's going to look like at Triton. And I feel like parents' fears are going to be calmed a little bit with that, to say what does that look like at our building, not necessarily what does it look like everywhere else. And as I stated in there, the superintendents are talking about that to make sure that we're staying somewhat aligned, so we don't use a pandemic to gain some type of advantage as it relates to what school's doing it best and that type of thing. So just know our heart is to continue to communicate that. Know that we will probably mess up. We are human and we're trying our best in the midst of this craziness to try to do it right. But on Monday of last week, I said we met with the individuals from the technology department, what I call our Triton leadership team: technology, maintenance, transportation, junior, senior high school, elementary building level leaders, in preparation for a safe reentry to school next fall. Items parents can begin to prepare for. One of the items that is probably inevitable is masking up. And I will tell you, the fear is that a child is going to wear a mask for 7 or 8 hours a day. And I can tell you that is absolutely not going to be the case at Triton School Corporation. Masking up when on the bus, when we're in close confined areas, when we're in populated areas, when transitioning in the building, we may mask up. But when we get to the classroom, we're going to make sure that our desks are facing in one direction, that our kids are safely spaced, and that may be a time where we're able to mask down. And I never thought masking up and masking down would be a thing in our corporation. But we have to show wisdom, right? We're not fearful. But if it's my kid or if it's somebody else's kid, we want to make sure that we're giving them the benefit of the doubt and respecting them. So we ask that you begin, if you have not already done so, to prepare to find masks for your scholars. We can assure you that these will not be worn all day, as I already said, unless you direct your child to do something different, and that's fine too. Physical distancing will be adhered to as much as possible while we continue to try to find the most common sense, age-appropriate solutions to keeping our scholars safe while on campus. What does that mean? I fully believe that our kindergarten through third grade teachers or kindergarten through second grade teachers likely will not have masks. They will likely have face shields. Simply because age-appropriate for our kids, for that young of a kid, they need to see your mouth and they need to see how you form letters and how you say words. So we're working through not only the safety piece of that, but what does the education piece of that look like? Per Indiana Department of Education guidelines, transportation routes will be limited to one pickup route and one drop-off route. So no longer can we continue to have a lot of kids riding a bunch of different buses throughout a day. So we're limiting that to one pickup route and one drop-off route. If parents need to communicate accordingly as far as they'll be bringing their child to school, it's going to increase the safety. On average, our elementary secretaries received 65 to 75 calls a day of bus changes. And quite frankly, that's very, very difficult to keep straight. And then we're the only ones that can lose from the fact is that the kid gets on the wrong bus at the wrong time and goes to the wrong place, right? So we're going to try to narrow that down a little bit and simply ask parents, let us know where you want them to pick up. Let us know where you want us to drop off. The state actually in the document that I shared with you guys on Friday morning actually states that there would be one drop off and one drop off only. And I think Mr. McFarland can verify the fact is that we discussed that quite a while this morning and we just didn't feel like it was in the best interest of our families to say, what if they need to go somewhere else, right? If somebody's working from this time to this time, what if they can't drop them off the same place they picked them up? So just trying to think of parents in that, and I know some parents will say, well, I have 3 different places, and I understand that, but we can't continue to make sure and secure the safety of our kids by doing that. More information will be coming, similar to what's already been sent out through the Triton School Corporation Easy Routing Parent Portal. I understand the first time that was sent out, it wasn't identifiable because it didn't say Triton on it. So people were asking if it was not from us, and so we needed to clarify that. So we will be continuing to set that out through both letters with our letterhead and through email. This guidance was given through the recent Indiana Department of Education guidance on safely returning to school. We've invested in bottle fillers, or we're going to possibly invest in bottle fillers simply because drinking fountains, the constantly touching and putting your mouth up to those drinking fountains is just something that they have advised that is probably not in our best interest right now. So 50% of our drinking fountains will be changed over to a hybrid of both drinking fountain and bottle filler, but we will have the drinking fountain portion off during the school day. So we will be talking per grade level. Every grade level is different on that as far as who will be able to bring a bottle to fill up and who won't be. Due to the fact that each building has its own complications with implementation, building-specific videos will be sent out in the coming weeks to outline what your Scholars Day will look like at each building, outlining the safety measures we will take to protect your child, but also provide them the most safe and age-appropriate learning environment possible. So that's going to look different at second grade than it will sixth grade. It's going to look different at sixth grade than it will 10th grade, and we're going to try to outline those, what those look like. I would ask that if you have any questions concerning these items or any other items you may have, please do not succumb to the speculation or rumor, but please contact us at the administration building at 574-342-2255, and I would love to have that conversation, answer any questions, and make sure as many people feel confident in what we're doing as possible and or they can give feedback. Social responsibility. I've communicated with both town and township personnel about the old gym timeline and a couple of the items that may be of interest to them. I do want to review the timeline very quickly as the auction will be held in August or September. Removal will take place during fall break. And the reason we did that is just simply the turnaround time of the asbestos, getting items prepared for an auction, just speaking to, like I said, a couple different auctioneers in our area, just that quick timeline of them having auctions already set up and that type of thing just didn't allow us to do that in July with a quick removal. So we will plan on doing that at fall break. Likely Dave said he would be there the Friday before fall break and he'd be able to remove it over the weekend in preparation for that whole week of cleaning things up before kids came back on campus, providing everything stays as planned, right? Another social responsibility is the Bourbon Police will be using the junior high school parking lot on June 24th for their emergency vehicle operations activity. Accountability, celebration of accountability. The ultimate accountability is graduating our kids and helping them prepare for the next phase in their journey is graduation. So I just want to remind everybody that July 12th at 2 p.m., the Triton School Corporation and Triton Board of Trustees will congratulate the class of 2020 at their commencement exercise. As promised, we will continue to share more information as it becomes available. So here is some of that information. When? July 12th, 2 p.m., doors will open at approximately 1:30. Because of the social distancing or physical distancing and because of just making sure that we don't have people loitering, we are going to make those doors open a little bit closer to the time of the actual graduation. Where will that be held? That will be held in the Triton Trojan Trench, the high school gymnasium, and we're asking people to enter at door 4. Specifics. All students will have the opportunity to invite 6 guests. This will allow us to abide by social distancing guidelines while also allowing most families to be at the bottom set of bleachers, which are brand new and can accommodate those that need the railing. Seats will be assigned, and that will be done by a lottery. So we'll just simply pick those out, and we will actually assign those seats. Family units will be escorted to their assigned seat by a Triton staff member. So we will have those spelled out, the names of the people on the seats that they will occupy. The graduation will be televised on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. This live feed can be found on the school website, will be found on the school website, or by following the Triton Trojan Facebook page. This feature will be great for a family watch party or a future keepsake. So we'll be allowing that to happen in multiple different ways. High expectations. Despite a difficult end of the school year and what looks to be an interesting start to the new year, I can assure you we will continue to maintain high expectations for our staff and students as we strive to provide the best possible education in our region. Evidence-based decision-making. This core value is being utilized daily in our current state of unknowns. I continue to meet with county health departments, state and local officials, local leaders, and the Triton leadership team to do what is in the best interest of Triton scholars and staff. And then finally, alignment. The definition of alignment in our core values is we are most successful when everyone in our learning organization works together to achieve common goals. We can enhance efficiency and effectiveness by achieving alignment across our system. We talk a lot about Trojan pride. We talk a lot about the Trojan way, demonstrating high character qualities through NG3 and Kids Hope USA. And I'm proud of our teachers over the last 10 weeks who have shown these character qualities that we stress. We have made mistakes. Yes. Have we made mistakes? Absolutely. Have they worked hard to pull together an alternative learning plan that was in its infancy before we began implementation? Yes. Yes, they have, and I'm very proud of them. I'm also proud of our scholars who have shown grit in the face of some turbulent circumstances. We are human, and we'll continue to make mistakes, but I can promise you our board, our scholars, and our community that we will continue to work hard for you and give our very best, hold each other accountable, and do everything we can to prepare our scholars for their future and make our community proud. And I apologize for that being so long, but there's a lot going on.
Thank you. We'll go on to patrons' comments, if we have any patrons' comments.
We had a couple that were addressed. Greg Manuel wanted to know, has there been any further discussion on what's going to happen to the old gym? That was typed in early on. Trevor Tillotson, has there been any discussion about the 2021 school year starting up in August?
All right. Say hello to Trevor. He had a little accident a couple weeks ago and he's doing well, but hi, Trevor.
Victor Duke just spoke. How will it be handled for students that will go to other schools for classes?
Yeah, we will still provide CTE opportunities, so career and technical education. Once again, if there's too many to transport on a bus because of social distancing and those requirements, we will accommodate accordingly. So that hasn't been a problem in the past, so we will continue that opportunity for our scholars.
I was asked who the new varsity volleyball coach was. I answered that in text, but I didn't know if you wanted to talk more about that.
Yeah, so that is Derek, not Derek, Derek Eveland. Derek Cleveland, he was at Knox. He was also at Plymouth, and so kind of his road to Triton. His daughter played college volleyball, and he wanted to, so he resigned at Plymouth, I believe, to watch her compete, as any dad would want to do. And she has since chosen to focus on studies, and so he wanted to get back into it, and our opportunity became available. And it was neat the other day in Gail Perry's retirement, we had a little joking session as we wanted to make her happy about who we got, and she is thrilled to death. So anybody that wants to know, we have her confirmation that it's a great hire.
I guess the question I have
Yes.
relating to graduation, will there be a group gathering allowed after graduation?
That's a great question, Orion, and we honestly talked a little bit about possibly doing, I know there was a lot of conversation, will we even be able to have a graduation? Will it be virtual? Will it be a parade? Those type of things, simply because of the close proximity and gathering. What we're going to ask parents to do, honestly, is once those graduations are done, we know that they're going to take pictures, and that's expected. But we are going to ask people to exit campus as quickly as possible, just to make sure that we're doing as much as we possibly can to keep people safe. And we know that mass gatherings right now, even though happening more than they probably should be happening, are not the best for our kids' health and safety. So we are asking them to exit campus upon the end of the graduation. Good question.
So I actually have a question too for you.
Mm-hmm.
If one of our scholars happens to have family plans over that time and it's been planned, how are we going to handle those things? What's going to be our criteria? Do they have to be here?
As far as graduation,
Yeah.
they can still graduate. I mean, we will accommodate. It's obviously such a huge milestone in their career. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, some of you guys were involved in Zach Berger's graduation. The young man is going to serve our country in the military, and we had the awesome opportunity of giving him his own individual graduation. And so we can do the same if for some reason that's a problem. We're hoping that we cast that out far enough in advance and all the other craziness of plans that have been changed and updated. We're hoping we were able to get as many of those kids as possible. And a lot of those conversations, Mr. Stigter, I think it's important to know that the reason we are doing that in July is because of the conversation we had with our seniors. And their want to do that. We could have done a virtual graduation. Many have and will continue to through the month of June. But they said, you know what, we want it to be as normal as possible. And so we tried to accommodate that by making it in July, which gave us a little bit more latitude of who could attend and how they could attend. And so that was really the purpose for that. Yep.
Victor Duke has a follow-up question. Will other schools take the same precautions for our students as Triton is?
So how I can answer that is kind of goes back to my explanation is I am meeting with the county health department and I am meeting with the local superintendents. So most of our shared programs are with Plymouth and Argus, and I will tell you that we are going to try to be as much as possible with all things considered, such as school size, and the fact is that we're dealing with 1,000 and they're dealing with 4,000. We're going to try to, as much as possible, stay on the same page on that, and as a county, we're going to try to align.
Lane K, do you have any idea how long into the school year will the kids have to wear masks?
I will tell you that we are looking at that 30 days at a time. So we are not going to come out like the state with a phase-in, phase-out plan. I'll just tell you they have a lot more people working for them than I do. So I will tell you that we are looking to, as quickly as and as safely as possible, to get the kids back to a normal schedule. We're looking at things such as obviously cafeteria and boxed lunches and what that looks like through the cafeteria and what that looks like for transportation and even how we dismiss kids into the building. But as far as the masks, I think we can really get stuck on the mask thing, because I think there's such a debate out there on what's right and what's wrong. And what I would say our stance is going to be on there is let's try to be as respectful of one another as possible. And when engaged with other people in the hallways, on the bus, that type of thing, let's mask up. But when we're in a safety of our classroom and essentially what we would consider our family unit during the day, that we're going to be able to mask down, and the kids aren't going to have to worry about, breathing the face mask all day. But that's going to be individual classrooms. We have some classrooms that may have to, just to be honest, may have to mask up more often because of the health of their teacher. So we're having those conversations too, because not only do I have to worry about 1,000 kids, but we have 130 staff members that sometimes fit into a category of more susceptible for that. So there's a lot of discussions happening. So to answer that specific question, I would love to say that that's not going to last a long time. But quite frankly, I didn't think we were going to end school in March, as far as meeting together March 26th, So I will tell you that I commit to our corporation to say when we can safely and most effectively get back to a normal day, that I would sleep a lot better at night as well, too. So for my kids as well. So I guess my commitment to the corporation ever since I've been principal is to say if it's not good enough for my kids, it's not good enough for your kids. And I think as we have these discussions, there's things that some of us are dead set on, and there's some things that we can move on. And I tell you, it's productive discussion. I think you can verify that, Tom, from our discussion today, is we were pretty dead set on some things, and I think common sense prevailed when we came to the end of it. So I know that's a long answer for a mask question, but I think a lot of those questions are out there, and I think we have to show a little grace to say there's going to be people on both sides of that. You can call it an aisle, but you can call it both sides of the spectrum as well. And I'm going to stay out of the aisle, but I'm going to make sure we're doing what's best for the most.
Any other patrons' comments?
Susie Mullen says, keep up the great work, Triton. Your hearts and wisdom are evident.
Man, thanks, Susie.
All right, then we will move on to the building reports.
All right, so this is from Mrs. Cook from the elementary. So teachers have been very busy grading completed work, both digital and packets. Estimates indicate very good participation with only a handful of students who did not complete anything. Today is the deadline for the work to be submitted in order to count for grading. So kudos to our teachers for planning digital and offline lessons and for tracking and grading work throughout the last 2 months. A big shout out to Mr. Carpenter, Mrs. Belinsky, Mrs. McFarland, Mrs. Large, Mr. Heckman for helping Melissa and Christine each Tuesday evening with curbside pickup and drop off. We prevailed in all kinds of weather, wind, cold, light rain, sun, heat, humidity. Thankfully, we did not have snow. Some flakes were sighted during the closure, but missed the 4 to 6 p.m. Time, as did storms. So they did a great job. So thank you. That's quite an undertaking to make sure people giving their time and energy after hours to make sure we're there for kiddos to drop or pick those up. Staff sent our 6th graders off with a drive-through recognition on June 1st, which was awesome. My boys got to be part of that. All but 8 6th graders were there, and if you know about that class, it's a class of 84 kids. So that's quite an amazing turnout. Many teachers were there standing on the sidewalks saying hello, congratulations, and waving pom-poms and all sorts of stuff. We know, kindergarten registration was held on June 3rd, and 47 students were registered. We know more are out there and hope to have a full class of around 70 when school starts in August. Typically, we add 15 to 20 to that registration number, so we're going to be right there with a nice size class, knowing that we're graduating a small class of 46, so that's going to be good for our numbers. We currently have 22 applicants for preschool, which means 2 are on the waiting list. Demolition of our old playground structure will start on Monday, June 15th, with the installation of new to follow. And I will, Mr. Teeple reached out to me this last weekend and asked about our playground area and when that's going to be open and so on. And I simply said we're abiding by the executive order of no public gatherings on our facilities. But I will tell you, when we can open that up, they're going to have a brand new playground to play on. So that's going to be pretty awesome. So July 1 is that date. Reading adoption materials are in, and staff should be able to take home teacher guides to help with summer collaboration and planning for implementation. Tomorrow, the elementary is having a staff picnic at noon, and we'll be congratulating Mrs. Belinsky and Mrs. Kinsel on their combined 73 years of exemplary service to Triton School Corporation. We wish them well in their retirement, and we'll miss them greatly. Cleaning crew is moving right along in spite of being short-handed. They're nearly finished with the main instructional areas. So thank you, Becky, and thank you, Nancy, who are our elementary custodians, doing an awesome job. And for the high school reports for Mr. Ross, we're planning on sending out report cards on June 19th. So those will be coming your way. Seniors need to check their email sent today with graduation update, which I gave a little insight to that, but he has also emailed every one of those seniors with that information. He says, please email with any questions. A letter will be sent out next week to all parents and seniors with finalized details. So once again, we're trying to give you those as they become a little bit more stable. So you'll see that in a letter this week. Office hours continue to be 8 to 3:30 for this week and next week. If you have any questions as far as scheduling, classes, those type of things, I know schedules will be headed out there soon as well because they've been working hard on those as well.
All right.
Building reports.
Gentlemen, do we have any more questions?
Just one shout out from Paula Meredith. Thank you for all you do for our community, students, and staff. We're blessed by your commitment.
Best cheesecake in the...
Yes.
I shouldn't say that out loud. I love her cheesecake. Thanks, Paula.
Ryan, do you have any?
I don't believe so.
All right, if there's no other comments or business, we will move to adjourn at 7:45. Thank you.